Welcome to Monitoring Your Fleet with Memfault. My name is Andy, and I lead our customer success team. And it's a pleasure to have you join. I know we are joining in from our production studios in California, so it's 8 a.m. here, but looking at some of the registrants and people who've hopped on, I can see there's a wide array of different time zones joining us. So good evening and good afternoon as well. Today, I will be covering the basics of monitoring your fleet with Memfault. We will start with a quick introduction to Memfault and fleet monitoring. Then I will dive into the product and highlight some key features that will help you monitor your fleet. But first, just like last time, we are going to start with a quick poll. So let me get that started for you here. Great. You should be able to see a poll. I'm hoping to see what type of level of familiarity we have with the product today, what orgs we're from, and sort of understand the diversity of the crowd online. Great. So it looks like, and I think that's about enough time. There's trickling in. It looks like we have a few more engineers here today over some of the other roles that we often see using the platform. And then also a wide array of folks who use Memfault for monitoring their fleet today. So that's amazing. I hope everyone, we have a little bit for everyone. So I hope that works out well. All right, let's jump into a introduction of Memfault. Let me just stop sharing my screen here. Perfect. So Memfault, we are led by a group of very passionate embedded engineers who care deeply about device reliability. We are here as a company. This is why we're here, is to help you build highly reliable IoT and edge devices at scale. And we help businesses accelerate their go-to-market, de-risk product launches, cut product costs, and also deliver high quality, higher performing connected devices. And we do this in a few different ways. We help collect, process, and visualize the diagnostic data from all of your devices in development and in production into one centralized platform. And this platform is also your hub for managing your devices by sending device configurations as well as OTA updates, which means, and this positions Memfault to be your one-stop shop for understanding the health of your fleet, getting the information you need to debug devices, and shipping impactful software updates to improve the reliability of your devices. And Memfault also, because we are this one-stop shop, we help bring teams across engineering, customer support, and product together so that they can work faster together. Also, I think we have a diversity of people on different platforms who have joined today. We work on highly constrained MCU devices, Android devices, and also Linux devices. Cool. So that was a high-level overview of what Memfault is if you are new today. So let's jump into why you might want to monitor your fleet. And I think that we had about 30% of folks who said that they are not using Memfault yet today to do this. So fleet monitoring is listening to trends and signals to gather actionable insights about your fleet of devices. And so not only does Memfault collect, deduplicate, and analyze issues remotely from all of your devices in the field, but we also collect heartbeats, which is a report of what's happening on your device outside of just when it's failing. And this data can be indexed and aggregated in the Memfault platform, which gives you a rich picture of your fleet health and reliability over time. And there's a few ways that this can help provide value for Memfault's customers. Mainly, you move from living in the unknown of what's happening on your devices and your fleet, and you move into the known, which means that you can make better decisions and work faster and more efficiently. So a few things that benefits that our customers see from monitoring their fleet. So one, speeding up QA cycles. You can know exactly how a test fleet is performing, especially if it's maybe a beta fleet of 100 or 200 devices with beta customers. You can see exactly how it is performing instead of waiting for them to crash in test environments, which can take a really long time. Two, de-risk product launches and releases. Oftentimes, we really want to know that we get like all of the bugs fixed and that battery issue is 100% where we need it to be before we launch. But with Memfault, you can go ahead and launch a device confidently knowing that if you still have a few bugs running, your team is going to know about it straight away, and you will be able to jump in and make those fixes very quickly. And that'll allow you to get to market faster, but also de-risk moving quickly as well. The third way, and I'll speak about some examples as well, but the third way our customers get value from monitoring their fleet is meeting certain customer service levels. So maybe you have a battery life warranty or a percent uptime that you need to hit for the device being connected. You know, are you aware of what your percent uptime is today? That's living in the unknown if you don't know the answer to that question. This is something that you would be able to monitor on Memfault. And then the fourth thing is just to proactively manage and improve your devices in the field. So you can watch key performance indicators and know when you need to jump in and where to spend your time to improve customer experience. And again, what we're here to do as Memfault, all of this will help you deliver higher quality, higher performing connected devices faster. So today we will cover that was an overview of why you should be monitoring your fleet. And today I'm going to be running through some specific features and go into depth of how you can be using them like a pro to get the most out of Memfault. We will cover, that immediate response for outliers and things that you want to jump on immediately by going through device and fleet alerts. Enabling you to hear the signal through the noise. We'll be talking about notification targets. 3 and 4, we'll be covering metric charts and issue charts. They're on the same page, so I'll group them together. 5, we will be talking about the benefits of using our normalization feature and when you should be thinking about that. And then 6, sort of laying the foundations of how you think about metric capture, and I'll talk a little bit about metric configuration tips. I do want to call out that we had a recent webinar that was given by our co-founder and head of developer experience, Tyler Hoffman, and it was on the power of metrics. And Tyler is an exceptional person at trying to have some deep thinking about really how you implement metrics so that you get the insights that you care about at the aggregate level. And I will talk a little bit more about how this may plug into the training today. But if you are in charge of implementing metrics in your Memfault dashboard, I highly recommend that you watch this webinar because it was great. I watched it. I thought it was one of our better webinars. I'm not supposed to have favorites, but I do. Okay, so let's get into it. I'm going to share my screen and walk you through exactly what it looks like. So first, we're going to get started with device and fleet level alerts. second. Okay, you should be able to see my screen. This is our demo environment. We have a few different projects in here. This is our Smart Sync project. This is a MCU-based project and where I'll be for today. But many of the, well, actually all of the features that I'm talking about are available across platforms as well. So let's first navigate to our alerting section in the dashboard here. Alerts allow your team to proactively respond to outliers. You can set alerts, as I said, at the fleet level as well as the device level. And we have customers who use alerts to enable them to be able to have proactive maintenance. Proactive maintenance allows your team to solve customer impacting issues faster. You can fix a problem or unwanted behavior right when it first happens, not after a customer or maybe a few customers call in. If your team can solve this fix before it really is affecting customers, you're able to dramatically reduce the amount of time and money you spend on customer support. So there's huge business value in trying to get ahead of these problems. So let's check it out and set up an alert. So first, navigate to the alerts. And on this page, you can create a new alert by clicking the Create Alert button here. Simply add your name, your description. I'm going to call this out a lot in this presentation, and I will have just a quick note on descriptions here. Oftentimes, many people configure Memfault to have a whole bunch of power, but then your colleagues come along and they don't understand how to use all of the amazing things that have been configured. And I highly recommend adding a description to empower folks on your team, maybe new hires, maybe there's a new team using Memfault, so that they come in and fully understand what's already in place and they can just make use of the insights rather than needing to chase down what these alerts or metric charts or other pieces that we'll talk about today actually mean. So I highly recommend, I would say not a best practice, an excellent practice is to add a description here. You can also choose one or more notification targets. We will be talking a little bit more about notification targets today, but this will be anyone who you want to receive the alert. And then here you can see there are two different types of alerts. Device alerts send an alert the first time a device hits the threshold you define in a given day. The alert is triggered immediately when Memfault receives the data from the device. And for this alert, I want to be alerted every time a device experiences dramatic battery drain. We use the metric battery percent delta to measure this. And I'm going to set this at battery percent delta is greater than 50. What this signifies, because of the way that we've built this metric, is that in a given hour, what I'm looking for is any device that has lost half of its battery in an hour, which is a pretty significant drain. So yes, I want to be alerted when this happens. So you can end here. Let me just do this. You can end here and click this button here, or you can add a condition, a scope to limit the scope of this alert. So there's a few different options you have here, and I'll walk through some use cases where you may want to use some of these. So software version, this is really helpful when you're trying to watch a newly released software version that you are expecting different behavior on. Right? We've just shipped a new release where we think we fixed this battery drain issue, and I want to know if there are any flare-ups. Device serial. This is really helpful if you have a few devices that you care about a lot and you want to watch more closely. Oftentimes we see folks have a device in their CTO's home that they want to get an alert on if anything happens there. Maybe it's in the hands of a customer who's called in a few times already, and you're doing a deep dive to try to triage the problem they're experiencing, and it's a more tightly tuned alert. Or maybe these device serials map to a few internal devices that you are testing out something new on as well. And cohorts are also very helpful to limit the scope too. So cohorts are, if you're not familiar with our cohorts, basically it is a grouping of your choice of the devices in your fleet. In our demo instance, as well as a lot of our customers' instances, these cohorts map to your internal, beta, and production fleet. So this would be a great way to just narrow the scope into only production devices. These options change if you're hoping to create a fleet alert. So a fleet alert sends an alert if the aggregation of a metric across your fleet hits a specific threshold, and this is calculated on an hour time window. Fleet alerts are designed to be an immediate notification. This is why the aggregation only applies to the hour time window. And it's important to note that dashboards in Memfault typically report fleet aggregates on a 24-hour period, a 24-hour time window, and they're likely not to map directly to fleet alerts because they have different value that they're providing to you. So here you can choose from, it's similar to last time, you can choose your metrics here. You can see some grayed out at the bottom, and I'll talk about that later. But then you can also have a variety of different aggregates that you can choose. And if you have watched The Power of Metrics, it is our opinion that typically the mean, max, and min aggregations are the ones that you should be using most often, and the count and sum less often, just because of this is more a philosophical statement on how you capture metrics, but at a high level, if you're thinking about metric design, this is typically what we would recommend here. When an alert and you can also define the scope here, and it's by cohort for the fleet alerts. When an alert is triggered, you will receive an email or maybe a message through an application like Slack. This can be configured in notification targets, which we'll talk about later as well. For device alerts, so you can see we have a few different device alerts here. Once an alert is triggered, we recommend continuing your investigation at the device level. So here you can see the number of devices impacted. I can also click here to get a full list of the devices. And then I can simply click into the device and continue my investigation. I would recommend going to the timeline view around the time that the alert was triggered to understand what else was happening on the device and dig in there. Similar story for the fleet alerts. Once a fleet alert has been triggered, our recommendation is go to fleet and then devices, and you can use this page to search for the criteria that you think represent your outliers. So maybe you have a mean of, we don't want this to go over 50. I can simply type in my search criteria here and get a full list of all of the devices that have been in that outlier bucket that would have contributed to the fleet alert going off in that time range. And you can also search specifically with the historical data search criteria for a specific time window as well that this would have, this metric would have been captured. So that is our device and fleet alerting. Next, we're going to move on to notification targets. I know that I talked about them a lot, so we're going to dig in straight away. So again, one way that you can configure your notification targets is directly while you're setting it up here, you can go and manage available notification targets. This is also available under settings and then notifications. You can also get to that page here as well. Notification targets are extremely powerful. They help you hear the signal through the noise. This tool allows you to fine tune which alerts get sent where. So maybe your tech lead on Bluetooth can have notifications tightly tuned to specifically Bluetooth related data, whereas your product manager may only want to get notified when certain KPIs change across the fleet. Or maybe you have a oh no moment that you loop your VP or someone even more senior in to get that type of notification target. This tool also allows you to, as I said before, it plays into that shipping with confidence concept. So you can know that you or the right person on your team will be notified immediately if there's any unexpected behavior on new releases, for example. And this allows each individual to get exactly the right notification at the right time, enabling your team to be proactive when addressing these issues rather than reactive. And I'm going to walk through how you can set up different users, different notification groups, and also external targets. When you navigate to the notification page, you'll automatically be on the user handles page. And this is a full list of all of the users associated with the project in Memfault. They all automatically get their own handle, which you can see here. This is Alan's, which is @Alan. And if there is someone who you think is missing, it is likely because they are not in Memfault as a user. And any admin can add users to the project so that they show up here. And here is a quick link there. On this page, you can also, if you don't want to be @Alan, you can edit the handle and change the handle here. Additionally, you have an overview to see by user which other notification groups that they're a part of. So we have a notification group here called engineering, and it has 6 people in it. And I know that Crystal, who's on our engineering team, is in the engineering handle and will be notified anytime an alert is sent to that notification target. So those are user handles and sort of internal targets. Next, I'm going to walk you through external targets. These are really helpful. This is you can send a notification to any external email for services like PagerDuty, or maybe you're targeting a group alias at your company. And then you can also target notifications in Slack channels. So for external notifications, this is pretty straightforward, but I just want to walk you through it here. You can create an external notification target that is an email. Simply type in your display name, the handle of your choice, the email, which is the external email that this is going to go to. And then again, my favorite, the description. Sorry, I have my Zoom bar in the way. Classic 2022 problem. Slack webhook. So pretty much the same thing. You have the display name, you can enter the handle as well. And then your Slack webhook URL, there's pretty good instructions on Slack's documentation on how to gather this if you're unfamiliar. And then the description of why we have this notification target. You know, the description here is important because you don't want someone else to just start sending your Slack channel a whole bunch of notifications you don't care about, right? You want to be clear about what the purpose of it is. All righty, so that's external targets. And now let's combine both of these concepts together and go over to notification groups. Again, I think this is one of the more simple but powerful elements of our platform. So you see that we have multiple different groups here. As I said before, we have our engineering group, which is @engineering. If I want to take anyone out or add them, simply this is just every different handle that we have. You can see we have internal Alan, we can add Alan, or maybe we also want to add the device software Slack handle as well. And you can either just reset that or save the group there. Creating a new notification group is also pretty straightforward. You're just creating the name and the handle, and then you can add who you want on this page. The last concept I'll talk about is defaults. So by default, the default is at everyone. And what the default is any time that a new alert is created, this is what the notification target will be. So if you would like that not to go to everyone by default, you can change that here. That's simply what this is. You can choose Crystal instead of everyone, because Crystal is leading the effort on all alerting, apparently, and you can just save that there. Great. That was notification targets. I'm just going to check here in case we had any question. So I have a question that I'll answer from the audience, which is a fleet defined as one or more cohorts? In the concept of fleet alerts, it is, because of the scope of how we do that. It's a grouping of devices where you can look at trends across that group, but I'm also using that term in this presentation more liberally to just describe a collection of devices and all of the devices that are live as well. Okay, so we've done device and fleet alerts. We've talked about notification targets. So you can set up alerts to know exactly like when a device or a fleet kicks into like that outlier mode and you want to be notified. Notification targets allow you to choose exactly who receives that alert so that you're not spamming people and you're getting exactly the right information to the right person. We're going to switch gears now and talk about tracking aggregates over time across your fleet to understand trends. So I'm going to move over to our dashboard over here and our metrics charts here. This is where you can track aggregates across your fleet over time. So our customers use these charts to monitor key performance indicators. And these are simply aggregations of a specific metric or a cluster of issues across your across devices in your fleet. We have a few examples of how people have used this to deliver true value for their team. So I have a few examples. They're actually no customer in specific. They are very prominent off like usual examples where we have multiple customers using the product in this way. So one of those examples is we have customers who have lifetime battery, like just one battery that lasts as long as it lasts and then the device is done, right? No charging. And the devices are also under warranty for a certain number of years. So for them, monitoring battery drain is crucial so that they can make sure that their devices hit the expected lifetime and they don't run out of battery before due to some unknown connectivity bug that they didn't know about. So here they can measure average like fleet battery drop per hour. And if there's a dramatic change, they can jump in and proactively start that investigation to make sure that that impact is only felt for a short period of time and doesn't impact the longer like lifetime horizon of their battery. We also have customers where the value of their product is based in the data they collect and analyze from some sort of sensor attached to the device. For them, it's important to monitor the percent uptime of their device because if this drops, it could diminish the value of the data they're collecting because you'll have holes in the picture, either on, one device if it's like an important alerting system, or if you're doing aggregates across the fleet, it could really skew your data. So that's something important for them to know about. So let's dive in and talk about the functionality on this page. You can create a new chart by clicking either of these toggles here. And I'm going to start with a metrics chart here. Again, pretty straightforward. You have the name, and then I will call this out one last time. I think this is the most important place where I've seen customers run into issues for not providing descriptions of what these charts mean. It can get very complicated, and if you're not leaving your colleagues cookie crumbs, they'll walk into all of these graphs that look really amazing, and then they will not be able to have any actionable insights because they don't fully understand how to interpret these charts. You can choose your metric. So let's do, I think that I'm going to just choose this battery percent delta already. And then you can also choose your aggregation. Again, we're recommending the mean, max, and min as where you should likely be standardizing how your metrics are being collected. And if you want more information, we have a whole webinar as to why. So you can create that there. I'm not going to because I noticed it's already created over here. Your information is going to immediately backfill. Every time a device reports in data, the data will immediately backfill as soon as you create a chart. Every time a device reports in data, it sends us a heartbeat of like heartbeats of metrics since the last time it phoned home. And our dashboards backfill this data so you have an accurate picture of how your fleet has been behaving over time. Note, again, I will call it out. This is a very different behavior to our alerts, which is only looking at devices that phone in during that 1 hour period. You can also create an issue chart. Oftentimes you may have that really severe bug that is causing some customer headaches, or just typical device reliability headaches that you need to get in front of. You can simply name this chart, add your description, and then I would recommend copy pasting the issue name from the issue page. But you can also just type in the issue that you want to track and click add. And there I can see that it's been added to the issue chart. You can do one, or you can also do one or more issues. So maybe I want to just, I know that these 3 hard fault issues, like recent, I'm breaking all of my rules here, hard faults, no description. These 3 issues have been, apparently it's probably actually not going to be that bad, but they've been occurring recently and I want to keep an eye on them. So you can see there's like that automatic backfill of recent data. And that is how you create an issue chart. And the issue charts can be really helpful. Again, let's go back to the example. There's a severe issue that is affecting our fleet. I now understand how frequently these hard faults have been happening. They seem to be impacting our customers a bunch. And I actually released a huge fix for this. And I want to see if it's actually led to any specific, positive outcome for us. I think it has, but we can check. So this is our comparison. So at the top of the page here, you can see I have the option to either just scope this full page to, let's say I only want to look at my new release, which is 1.0.1 proto software. And this will cut the data by just my new release. Or I can add another grouping of devices. And I'd actually like to compare it to what was happening on my 1.0.0 proto software type. And so my old software type is the pink, and my new software type is the blue. And I'm feeling pretty silly here because my blue has issues. This is obviously demo data, folks. And the fixes that I employed, there was another feature as well. It's actually led to an increase in average battery drop. So I'm glad that I checked that out because that's pretty scary. And I think it's time for a rollback for my most recent release. There is a question from the audience about this. So can you make charts other than just bar graphs? Currently, we support the bar graphs here. If you are on our enterprise plan, you're able to subscribe to our metrics export feature, where you would be able to export the time series metrics that you are collecting into an S3 bucket, and you can go wild with visualizations as well. So that's another option. Thank you for the question. Okay, so we're going to jump over to normalization. We talked about our metrics charts and our issue charts, and now we're going to talk about the impact of normalization. So for this, I'm going to create a new metric chart. And I actually care about, let's see what would be good. Let's do flash sector erases. And I want the total sum of our flash sector erases. And I'll do, again, breaking my rules. You should probably have better names, like this is helpful. I just want to show you the functionality. Okay, so we have our sum of flash sector erases, and you can see it's already divvied up by different software releases. And I wanted to just show you, if you do add a description, you get this little pop-up here with the question mark, and that's how you're going to help out your colleagues. So now I'm going to talk about comparing apples to apples. One thing that we watch here at SmartSync, or Acme Inc., I guess is the name of our company today, is the sum, I'm actually going to make this a count just for the sake of it today. So we watch the count of flash sector erases. And as you can see, this is what it would normally look like. This is a raw count of how many times flash sector erases is happening over our devices over time. You can see it's trending up here to 762. We see this, this is a metric that we're watching. We know that this metric is increasing over time. We also know, and this is the common problem that our customers run into, we also know that our fleet is increasing over time because we're rolling out to production and customers are buying our product. But what is the rate of this? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it staying the same? Like, is it increasing, decreasing? I don't know, and I don't have clear visibility. So this is where our normalization feature comes in handy. This is something where if you are measuring aggregations that are not a mean, min or max, which is recommended, but it's a sum or a count, while your fleet is increasing, you can normalize this. So then it's the values calculated per 1,000 devices, and you get an idea of how many, this is a count of the flash sector erases. Is this changing over time in my fleet? And you can see that it's actually remained pretty constant over time. This is also helpful when we are comparing different groups. So I'll go back to my new proto software and my old proto software. And if we don't normalize this, you can see it looks like maybe this new software is introducing a higher level of flash sector erases. But now if I normalize it, you can see actually it stayed pretty standard over time. It looks like we're having the same effect between different software versions. And that's all I have to say about normalization. It's pretty straightforward. I think we all understand that. And then my last piece before we head over to Q&A is these metric configuration tips. So we've covered a bunch of very powerful ways to improve your devices by proactively monitoring your fleet. Many of these are powered by metrics in order for this to generate many of these are powered by metrics. And in order for this to generate real business impact, as I said before, it's important to make sure the metrics that you are collecting are correct to give the right insights, but also you want to make sure that they are configured correctly in our UI. This is my final plug. If you are responsible for configuring and collecting metrics that powers all of these capabilities, I highly, highly recommend watching our webinar on the power of metrics. It goes into how you should think about capturing the data on the device in a way that gives you a very accurate and rich picture of what's happening on your fleet. Tyler's talk is primarily based around monitoring battery health, but the foundations of what he walks through can be applied to any other metric that you care about as well. We often recommend mean time between failure as a good one to collect as well. So our metrics. If over in settings here, we have a whole section for metrics, and these are the metrics that map to my project Smart Sync here. First, I want to describe the difference between attributes and time series. Time series metrics attributes and time series are the two different ways that you can collect metrics on Memfault. As standard, you are provisioned 25 time series metrics, and time series metrics are indexed. They power our alerts, our metric charts, what we started with, what we just finished with, and they allow you to search for specific values at a specific point in time in the device search. It's that historical time series aspect of our device search. So for any metric that you want to understand exactly what the value was in a specific point of time, you'll need it to be a time series metric. For attributes, you are provisioned 150 attributes. These attributes capture, store, and report the last seen value for a specific metric. And you can purchase more of either. So you have 25 time series, 150 attributes, but the ability to always have more. Time series metrics are recommended for key performance indicators that you are watching. And as a ballpark, customers who invest in proactive monitoring strategies on Memfault, on average, have between 100 and 200 time series metrics wired up per product. Attributes are more helpful for using Memfault as a device registry. Often, people use attributes to signify if the product is on a specific site or location. You might have security cameras in a specific bank in San Francisco that is your attribute. Or maybe you're denoting the market that the device is in, like Europe or the USA, where you may have different security or privacy regulations you have to adhere to. Another common one we hear is understanding what site the device was manufactured at. And then a good use case as well, which I really like, is that we have several customers who create something that can be embedded into a third party's device. So for example, you might have a speaker that can be embedded into a TV. and you know that you have confidence that your speakers are working great, but it's in a variety of different types of TVs, and all of those manufacturers could be sending updates to the TVs without your knowledge. But if your speaker, your MCU or your Android speaker in Linux, whatever, can talk to the TV and understand what software version it's on, or if it's received a recent update, you'd have a good understanding of maybe a correlation between a certain brand of third-party provider, as well as any problems that you are, like a spike in issues that you're seeing on your speakers. Here you can see which metrics are time series metrics and attributes. This is the center in Memfault, where you can also change what a metric is. Simply click on the metric name. So we have our battery percent delta here. And you can unclick or click a time series metric or attribute so that it is one or the other. Pretty straightforward here. As standard, if you're just getting started on Memfault and you're just wiring up your first metrics, the first 25 metrics added will be assigned as both an attribute and a time series metric by default, so that you're getting a rich feeling of the platform. If you start running into things where your metrics are grayed out, like I showed before, that's because you've probably hit your limit and your metric is not marked as a time series metric, or not configured correctly in this dashboard. I'm going to walk through a few of the other features here. Our recommendation, although you can add a metric in the UI, I would highly recommend instrumenting your code to use our SDK and send the metrics to us, and that will auto populate a lot of the configurations on the device, so that you'll get the right details associated with your metric, and everything will run smoothly. So instead of adding a metric, I'm just going to go in here and edit my metric, and so you'll see the string key has already been set by the device. The type has already been set by the device. And sometimes folks can run into issues if there's uncertainty around what you think the device is reporting versus what the device is actually reporting. So that's why I recommend it like that. I'll walk through some of these options now. So the range is simply the general range that you expect this metric to be in. You don't have to provide a range, but if you do provide a range, it will control the axes on the metric charts as well as the timeline in the device view, so that you don't get like a random axis that we've auto-populated, but you have more control over that. So you're looking at the right window you care about. Ignore, I think, is very important to be thoughtful about and get correct. So if I am getting my battery percent delta metric to come in, I may want to ignore some of the values that are coming in. For example, a battery delta of -1 for us means that it is a void reading. And so I don't want to include -1 in any of my aggregates because that'll mess up my mean. So I would like to ignore -1. Often other people denote null values in different ways, or there's other values that they should be rejecting. Sometimes we find that you have a count timer that has a bug on it and it's counting to infinity very rapidly, something like that. This is a good way as a workaround if there's some problems on your device. I will call out, I have seen trouble with folks who ignore the value 0. Just be mindful, sometimes 0 is an excellent reading and it should be measured and included in your aggregates. So just think about that a little bit. For your attributes, I described what an attribute was already, but you have 3 different options for the write policy: never, writable, and if not set. I think if not set is a really helpful one, especially if you're using that use case of understanding which factory it is manufactured in, for example. You write that once and then it's never going to change again. That would be a good example of that. And then we have our time series here, and then also favorite at the bottom. Sorry, I had to peek. This is just a quick check mark that'll help bump certain metrics up to the chart, up to the top of lists so that you can find it more frequently. And that's all I have. I'm nervous of time here. That's all I have for you today. We have covered why monitor your fleet. We have covered device and fleet alerts. We have covered our metric charts and issue charts, along with the concept of normalization, and then walked through a few of the different options you have for configuring your alerts. And